Welcome to Borak Turbo,
Woohoo!
the podcast about everyday Malaysian finance. So I have here Chuck on my right. Let's
Hi.
go through
The
as
news.
quickly as possible. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So the first topic that we want to cover today, and this is part of the reason why we had this podcast as well, is there's some huge drama again from Mr. Orange Hair,
Yes.
President Trump.
Yes.
So he announced some tariffs on China. And why were the tariffs so scary this time around that the whole market reacted to it in such a dramatic way?
I think so what's been circulating online for a long time now is that so far China has only reciprocated those tariffs with, so you put 100, I'll put 30% less all the time, until they call for truce until supposed to be 1st of September, which now has been pushed to 1st of November, I believe. Just right after the APEC meeting, end of this month, October, where President Xi of China and President Trump of US were supposed to meet to talk, right? But what came about last week was that China imposed or came up with new guidelines to regulate rare earth exports.
Yep.
So which means that you have to be approved by them as a vendor, including machinery to process rare earths. And I think there's been a lot of commentary written about who holds the trump cards when it comes to semiconductors.
Trump
right?
cards.
The trump card, right? So US is really trying really hard to restrict tech transfers between US and China,
Yep.
even though a bulk of the chips are actually manufactured in Taiwan,
Yep.
which is technically recognized as part of China, right? But where's that ultimate choke point? Is because semiconductors use a lot of rare earth materials. Not just semiconductors, cars, electronics in general.
Everything, basically.
Pretty much everything, lah.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything. And it's very minute, small amounts, and of which China has dominated 90% of the world supply. Because they've been building it up over the last 15, 20 years. So when you choke rare earths, essentially you choke the whole semiconductor supply chain, which means that even if you ban any AI chips to be exported to China, you can't, because going to the lowest fundamental level of what it takes to build a chip actually lies with China,
Right.
right? So of course Trump was very angry on Friday, and markets reacted. Markets were down 2, 3, 4, 5%.
So the tariff
index.
was a revenge on China for imposing those kind of regulations, which they didn't specifically say was targeted at US,
Of
but
course,
you
but-
know that it will eventually will.
Yeah, of course, because 90% of global supply, right?
Yeah.
So then Trump was, we're going to do 100% tariffs. But he softened his tone on Sunday. So that was Friday, markets were red. Softened his tone on Sunday, markets were green generally throughout the rest of the week.
Did they recover back to original pre
The
tariff
S&P 500, yes, recovered back.
Yeah.
I think what was the bigger news from this was really crypto, right?
Yeah.
So for those who are familiar with crypto, there are a lot of people who don't, when we say trade crypto, a lot of people actually don't trade the real spot crypto, not so much. But
Because
a
it's quite
large,
difficult, right? You have to key in someone's address and then hold it and stuff
well,
like
on the
that.
exchange you probably don't have to, but they call themselves degens, right? In the crypto space, is that they actually trade contracts or futures,
Yep.
which are most of the time leveraged as well.
Okay.
Right.
Got
So already crypto is so volatile. So futures allow you to piggyback on the extra volatility. Plus with leverage, you get, leverage is always a two-edged sword. Either you make a lot or you lose a lot, right?
Yep.
So what happened was Binance have come out and said that there was actually a glitch in the system. So even if you did not take any leverage on some of those future contracts, you would still be wiped to zero, your account. Even if you took no, because the price went from, let's say, $3 all the way 0.01 and then rebounded again.
Yeah.
So of course, a lot of retail investors got wiped really badly. But
You
if
see,
you
like anybody using Binance or people who were invested in
Well,
futures?
because all the exchanges kind of reference the prices from each other.
Yeah.
So not just Binance, but other exchanges were affected as well. Those who were trading synthetic or contracts, right, perps, perpetual futures, essentially, got wiped out, and it was a big haul, a very very big haul. Of course, the main winners were the exchanges, because say you put $100 collateral to trade futures, that $100 will be gone completely, right? Because all it needed was a split second to come down and come back up, right?
Yeah.
So that's essentially what happened, and
how does it
it's
affect
pretty
the market prices though, like to the average person?
Well, obviously the crypto market was down for that week, right? Bitcoin, of course, after hitting an all-time high, landed below the 110K range.
Yep.
But if you were holding spot and you were long-term, today we're back up to 111, 112 kind of thing.
Yep. The all-time high was 120, is it? Or
127 or 28.
127.
Yeah. So that's really what happened, right?
Okay, so I have a few questions about this. The first one being like, this has happened a lot in the last 6 to 12 months of Mr. Trump's presidency.
Yeah.
And this meme comes to mind, the one with James Franco with the noose around his neck, and he's looking at someone else with a noose, and it goes like first time, I think a lot of people know that meme now. I'm curious as to like, how has the market reaction to this kind of news changed in terms of how quickly it rebounds, and how the initial reaction is as well, knowing that you have made this analysis before that Trump always chickens out, right? The taco thing, right?
Taco, right? Well, yeah.
So now that taco is like so well established, has that changed the way that markets respond to these kind of things?
Yes, in fact, the dips the volatility is less now.
Okay.
Recovery period is also quicker, but also because in the first announcement on Liberation Day, where Trump announced,
tariffs on every
crazy
country.
tariffs on everybody, with a spreadsheet kind of dragged down value, was that it took him much longer to respond to confirm and agree on those tariffs, right? And to say that we're going to take a pause first. But this was quite quick because it was done over the weekend, so therefore markets were not open Saturday, Sunday. So when markets opened again on Monday, Tuesday, he responded quite quickly and said, look, he came out with something like, we agree that tariffs are probably a bit too high with China right now. It's not sustainable. And we're talking about 30%, and maybe it should be lower, right?
Yep.
And of course, everyone rejoiced, and markets rebounded. But definitely the severity of the drop, the dip this time round, much less than what happened
on Liberation Day
in April.
And is there been like an uptrend of like every single time that he announces new things, like it goes down less and less and less and less? It's like the boy who cried wolf, right?
I've not done that analysis, but
Right.
definitely lower volatility than in the first one, right? Yeah.
So like overall to investors now, it's less scary than it was 6 to 12 months ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the next piece of news was there's a lot of accusations coming around that Trump is doing these things on purpose to kind of rattle the market. And it's funny because I was having a conversation with a friend, and he was saying like, why does Trump keep doing this? Why does Trump keep doing this? And my theory is that, he's sitting in front of a TV with all his buddies, having a beer, whatever.
Bros, yeah.
And he says like, hey guys, watch this. And then he tweets something and he sees the market just go and then come back up again. And then he feels very good about himself. Like, is that what's happening, you think? Or
Well, okay, based on evidence, so the first one where Liberation Day, and there was a video that came out in the White House, in the Oval Office, where he spoke about his buddies. So he made $1 billion.
Oh yeah.
So there is obviously I mean, at least evidence based, there seems to be
some of that going on.
Some of that going on for sure, right? Other stories I'm hearing about this round where Bitcoin, follows what he says and he's behind it. Some other stories say no, actually he's not behind it, and people are just following exactly what he's saying, right, or what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
So I think there is evidence both on having some insider for sure, and then profiting from it.
No, actually staying on this for a while. I'm curious as to like Trump has been a big supporter of Bitcoin, right?
Crypto.
Yeah, crypto in general.
Yeah.
I think a lot of crypto natives were very bullish about crypto prospects when his presidency started. He said, he wanted to buy a Bitcoin reserve for the U.S. government. All that. That hasn't happened quite yet, right?
I think okay. So one of the things that the previous administration were, in a way, can I say, anti-crypto, or they're not pro-crypto in a sense, was that the then SEC chair was literally trying to sue everybody who dealing in crypto, including one of the largest in the US, which is Coinbase, right?
Yep.
The ironic thing is that they were trying to go after them for trading crypto, but they are also the regulators who approve their listing on the exchange. So this is where the irony comes in. So it's quite obvious the direction of the administration. So when Trump won the election, of course the SEC chair then, Jerry Gensler, then he resigned.
Yep.
Was replaced by a new SEC chair. It seems that the direction now has become more crypto friendly.
Yep.
So a couple of things that he's passed 3 bills in the Senate and in the lower house as well, was essentially the Stablecoin Act, and making sure that central banks cannot create their own CDBCs, right? So all these laws were very, very important to establish legitimacy in crypto.
Yeah.
And what we understand now, the next thing that that SEC is trying to push is actually tokenized stocks. That means stocks which 15 months ago, no way we would have thought this was ever going to happen.
Yeah.
But essentially, stocks being traded on the blockchain,
Yeah.
on public blockchain. So, and I think this is, I believe they call it the Clarity Act. So I think he's done a lot more.
This is the opposite of ETFs, right?
Okay, so ETFs are, say, a basket of stocks or securities traded on an exchange.
Yeah.
This is basically taking anything traded on exchange to trade on public blockchains.
Yeah. Sorry, I was referring to Bitcoin ETFs. Bitcoin ETF is Bitcoin being traded on exchanges.
Oh yes, correct.
Yeah, and so this tokenized stocks is basically equities being traded on the blockchain. It's the other way around.
Correct. On public blockchains. Correct. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, go on.
And I think having these clarity written into law and passed into law and Senate is a huge step.
Yeah.
For legitimizing this industry. So I think it's not Bitcoin specific only. It is, generally the whole crypto industry.
Yep.
Yeah.
From that, because of his going back and forth and the market volatility that he himself is arguably causing, is there lowered credibility with regards to his intentions with crypto? That's number one. And number two, obviously he's a one-term president according to the Constitution of the US, right? So his term ends, in about 3 to 4 years, right? Is there a projected drop once that occurs?
Well, typically it's once laws get passed, they're quite hard or harder to rescind.
Fair.
So, and I believe he's trying to push this all within the first 12 months of his presidency, which he has done. And I think the stablecoin was passed in June, July. I believe was sworn in February only. So he moved pretty quick on this. And it's not easy to get laws passed because you need both lower house and Senate approve, which both the Republicans are in control of, right?
this time.
So he has to do all this before the midterm elections, which is next year, November, which based on evidence and historical, not whether it's Republican or Democrat, the probability of Trump or the Republican Party losing the majority in the Senate, it's
very
95%.
Yeah, very high.
So he has to get those laws passed in 24 months, or they risk not being passed. So in terms of credibility, I don't think he's lost that credibility within the crypto space, because he has delivered on those bills which are very difficult to get done.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Good answer. Okay, so then now we move things back to Malaysia. Uh, Obviously, there's been this shadow hanging across the entire semiconductor market in Malaysia, and we have a huge semiconductor industry here. We do a lot of the supply chain stuff with regards to semiconductors. They get sent here, they get processed, and they get sent somewhere else.
I mean, based on CIEC stats, our exports for semiconductors
Yep.
or semiconductor related, it's 2 times bigger than oil and gas and palm oil combined.
2 times bigger than oil and gas and palm oil combined.
Correct.
Wow.
So yeah, it's huge.
And okay, but just to explain that to the average layperson, it's also a bit of a inflated figure because they come in at a certain value and they go
Of
out at a
course.
certain value
Pass through lah.
because of supply chain lah,
Yeah.
versus like palm oil and petroleum, which we actually generate ourselves lah, right?
Right.
Now, and the industry here is massive, it's huge. Can you explain to the layperson what's this shadow that's been there since the start of the year?
So I think Malaysia was hit with I believe it was 25%, 24% tariff,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Before the negotiation with Trump, I think the Malaysian administration managed to bring it down 5%. So we're all equally at 19% with Thailand and everything else.
We made a deal.
Yeah, we made a deal. But semiconductors or hard disk drives were exempt from this tariff, right? So pretty much business as usual, at least in the short term.
Why?
Well, because there's no tariff, so people will still order. And
No,
there's
as in
difference.
why were semiconductors exempt from this tariff?
Because they were considered an essential good or service. There's a term for it. Obviously, because we all can't live without electronics today. Because
Yep.
a lot of our iPhones are built up in Penang here in Malaysia, right? Or part of the iPhone is built up in Penang. So it is a huge deal, and it would not just affect us; it will affect the whole world.
Yep.
Right. And because supply chains are so highly integrated and complex in nature, I don't think there is a single person that can map out the whole industry by company and by function and by, because every company does a little bit of something, right?
Yeah.
And somehow in magic it all works and comes together.
From what you know, like let's say like a processor, how many countries do you think that has a pass before it just finally reaches your phone and retail? Or
I wouldn't have a clue.
Right.
I won't be surprised if it's more than 5 or 6.
right.
Yeah.
And so if there was a tariff on every single one of those countries, you would gather that 25%, 15%, 20%, 30%.
Well, I think and it's also complex because how would you calculate, right? Because if say everyone ships it out of Singapore and it's 10%,
Yeah.
that's known as a pass-through tariff, right?
Yep.
But how would you tax at every stage of the supply chain?
Yep.
Because it's not a direct export to the United States, right? Because this
Yep.
tariff is directly for the US only, right?
Yep. Yep.
Or goods
Unless
coming
it
to
goes
the
there
US
and
are-
comes back, goes there, comes back, goes there and
Correct.
comes back lah.
Yeah.
Right. So the shadow was basically that they didn't know if Trump was going to tax semiconductors. Is that it?
Yeah. Well, the assumption was that everything was going to be taxed.
Right.
Until it wasn't. Until that exemption was given.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So
in this time, what happened to all these semiconductor stocks in Malaysia?
most of them fell more than 50%.
Whew.
70% was like
Overnight on Liberation Day.
Yeah, overnight, and it stayed there for a while.
Even though there wasn't actually any
Yep.
tax
Just
on
fear.
semiconductors.
Just fear.
So purely, like, there's no difference, but because of Liberation Day, all semiconductor companies were living in
I guess
fear.
it was fear of the unknown, right?
Right.
Because you talk to the semiconductor companies, they're like, "What's the guidance?" They're like, "We don't know."
Right.
Because you ask the buyer said, "I don't know," and that buyer probably supplies to someone else. I don't know. Everybody don't know, right? But I think it seems to have somewhat cooled off. I think the opportunity was semiconductors in the last 6 months, and we're seeing some of those results today. But prices have not fully recovered to where they were before,
Right.
even a year ago, right?
How much? Like, give or take.
I'll say on average they would have recovered. If they were down 70%, they're probably down now maybe 20%, 30%.
Okay.
So not as huge of a discount, but yeah,
And
still there.
what would prompt it to recover fully?
it has to be clarity on tariffs. It has to be very good because really we are a collateral in this crossfire between the two giants, right? US very well knows that they can't not depend on China for electronics. They just can't, right? And we kind of happen to be somewhere in between.
Yep.
We may not make the whole thing, but we are part of it. So is Taiwan, South Korea, right? Maybe a little bit of Thailand as well, right? So I think because it's so complex, right? So it's kind of hard to just finger and say, yeah, let's put a 30% tariff and let's see what happens.
Yep.
Yeah. So I remember watching this video, Milton Friedman.
Yep.
He talked about, he just brought up his pencil. He said, he said, no one knows how many people was involved in creating this pencil. And he was describing, look, yeah, you call it lead, but it's graphite. It's probably mined somewhere out of Africa. The tip of the rubber here was probably
from Malaysia.
From Malaysia, that
Yeah.
owners planted that rubber tree how many years ago and it's harvested. The paint was probably from somewhere else.
Yeah.
The wood had to be chopped from somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And somehow through capitalism, everything was brought together and everyone made a profit on it. So that's essentially what the semiconductor space is today. It is complex. So if a pencil can be that complex as it is,
Imagine your handphone.
yeah, imagine your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay, so moving away from the Trump tariff madness, I think everything is starting to slowly normalize back again, right?
Hopefully,
yeah. Hopefully, by the time this podcast comes out, everything will be back to normal. We can all hope,
Yeah.
right? And let's talk switch cogs to the other big news that's come out in the market recently, which is the Malaysian budget for 2026. So it's surprisingly not a lot of huge news out of this budget, actually. I think what Anwar has been announcing has been very kind. It feels like the new taxes are not coming into play. There's been more cash handouts. There are no subsidy cuts, huge ones. What did you think of the overall budget? Like, how do you think?
I thought, well, if you look at the numbers, I think it's the largest budget ever.
But it always is, right?
Well, not always being the largest. No, not always.
Historically,
No,
I
not
feel
always.
like the budget grows every single time. No,
Not always.
Oh.
I think I think for outsiders looking at the budget, they probably see a little bit more discipline. Of course, it's large because of private-public partnerships,
Yeah.
So the capex portion looks a lot bigger, but we're very old kind of, or we're kind of developing economy. Like I think it's very hard to spring some surprises, but I think the government has made some very difficult moves like rationalizing subsidies, which they have done in the last 12 months, right? And I think starting with 300 liters per month of subsidized fuel
Yep.
per citizen with a valid driving license was a very effective move. Very effective.
In achieving what?
In rationalizing subsidies, because it was very difficult to control foreigners doing 95, and it was just very difficult, right? And I think just changing the mechanism was quite a smart move. I mean, instead of trying to collect everyone's data and figure out how much they need, it was just a bit too difficult, right? But of course, we will likely see this new mechanism being put into place maybe by different governments or different prime ministers, that they start at 300 and then they're going to come out and say, you know what?
Now we got EVs or hybrids that's going down to 150.
No, we realize, not everyone needs 300, so
Yeah.
maybe 200,
Yeah.
and then go back to 150. So it's a much slower way to ease rationalizing petrol prices,
Yep.
and people won't feel it as much. So you won't get sudden shocks in prices.
So this is the effect of putting the frog into very normal temperature water for now, lah.
Yes. It's like
But
a spa.
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Before this, there was no pot. The
Yeah.
frog was outside, and
Yes,
now we
yes.
just put it into normal room temperature water. That's it. Water's fine. Slowly, as the years pass by, it'll get a little bit warmer. A little
So
bit warmer.
imagine the amount of money they would save,
Yeah.
even if they cut 50 liters off. Like huge.
Yeah.
Times what? 15 million eligible Malaysians per month.
Yep.
That is significant, right? Yeah.
And also the budget had a positive impact on the equity market. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Did you guys see it yourselves?
I think on the construction sector, it's quite positive.
Yeah, why?
Generally, capex,
Okay.
capital expenditure, building stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's good, right? I think our market was green on Friday, but because US was red on Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and then Monday we became red again. So we're still susceptible to global sentiment.
Yeah.
But I think one of the interesting things that came out, I can't remember last year, we did an education piece about the rule of 78 of how if you pay off your car loans
Mm-hmm.
early, you don't really save much because all the interest is front loaded up front.
Oh, the lemon law.
Well, not the lemon law. No, it's just how they calculate your hire purchase agreement.
Yep.
So it was never on a loan reducing a method.
Yep.
So let's say you borrowed 100,000 and let's say for simplicity, your interest was charged at 5%. And then you borrow for 5 years, example. So it's 5 times 15. So you pay 125K
Yep.
over 5 years, 60 months, right?
Yep.
But you're going to realize in your first 18 months, you're just literally paying off interest.
Yep.
And then when you come to your 4th year, you are now paying back the principal.
Yep.
So what they're saying now, if you want to start paying off your loan on 3rd year, because you already front loaded the interest up front.
Yep.
And even if you settle your car loan early, you're not better off.
Yep.
You're worse off actually, right? Because you would have paid a much higher interest rate
Yep.
comparatively. So now they said that this thing is not legal anymore, and they've made changes to the Hire Purchase Act.
Yep.
Which I think is a good news for consumers, because not so much for the banks who are heavy in hire purchase. It's a bit more fairer way of calculating.
Yeah. So the overall effective interest rate for cars will probably drop lah. Car loan, sorry.
Probably go up.
The effective
Interest rate or new interest rates. The banks will probably come back and say, look, higher interest rates.
Oh, so the banks will raise the interest rates to compensate for the loss in revenue from this new.
Probably.
So effectively, you'll end up back at square one.
They might, but I guess if depending on your credit score, you might get lower, right?
Right.
Right, because it is a higher purchase and collateralized.
And overall, it's just a more transparent, direct way of doing things.
Yeah, because if you're gonna pay off your loan on the 4th year, you would have paid 5 years of interest.
Yeah.
And it's at the discretion of the bank to give you that small, tiny little rebate. But now it's not at their discretion anymore. Now you gotta do it loan reducing method, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and it's a bit more fairer, right? And that way of calculating is so archaic. It's primitive, right? It's 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Most countries in the world have already banned that.
Oh, so we were one of the last.
Yeah, well, so I don't know if we're one of the last. I'm sure there are countries that still practice it.
Right, like North Korea or something.
But but I mean, we've come to this day and age where consumers can pick out a calculator, right? It's not that difficult.
So that's interesting. I actually didn't know that we were one of the holdouts on this.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I would imagine bankers not being so happy about this because
Yep.
because that's a lot of profit to be made there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, and then also a lot of cash transfers. I think there was 100 ringgit for everyone over a certain age, and another 300 ringgit.
Did you get to use the $100?
No, I didn't. Because it's the Budi one, right?
Yeah.
You have to buy like certain things, right?
Yeah.
I was like, how much rice or cooking oil can I possibly consume? I'm like thinking like, okay, maybe the only thing I can buy is diapers lah,
Yeah, you can buy diapers.
Yeah, but they didn't sell my brand of diapers.
Right.
Yeah, in KK Mart lah. my baby quite atas one. I used the atas diapers. Did you manage to spend the?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, nice. What did you buy?
I think some instant noodles and
That's a lot of instant noodles, man.
Milo. And,
Milo.
and
Milo
a
is a
few
good
other
one.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we didn't manage to use ours. Yeah. And this piece of news that I think that you noticed something in the budget about Malaysia tracking crypto a little bit more closely this time, and that actually flew under the radar for a lot of people. So maybe you can tell people what you saw.
Yeah, so you look at the Prime Minister's budget speech
Yep.
for 2026, and you're gonna realize there's a piece there where the Prime Minister mentioned that there will be a special unit that will be created under the Inland Revenue Board, IRB or LHDN, tax collectors,
Yep.
where they're gonna be specifically monitoring crypto transactions.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think this is quite interesting because typically, there's no heads up, but they're giving all the crypto bros a heads up that
Yeah.
if a huge amount of money lands in your bank account, you might be taxed, right?
Yeah.
And I think at least there's clarity now.
Yeah.
But I don't know, even with this clarity and legitimacy, whether banks or traditional banks will actually accept, because most traditional, so quite common in the crypto world, is what you call getting debanked. Basically, even if you have made money in crypto, the bank typically will treat you like a war criminal, and they ask you to close your accounts and move to somewhere else, right? Yep. Very common, very common. And I think largely it stems from just a very blanket from the top, because I don't understand how crypto works, therefore it's money laundering, I don't want to know, I don't want to report it, so close your account and get out of my system.
Sorry, let me try to understand this. So basically, if someone goes in and makes a huge amount of money from crypto, and they want to turn it into ringgit, fiat, or whatever it is, and they bring it in, and basically the bank sees that transaction, and goes like, okay, we don't want your business.
Yep. Too high risk.
Because they're afraid that the inland board will flag it and say
no, because their duty is to flag out any anti-money laundering activities.
Yeah.
And if they deem that to be money laundering, right, or terrorist financing, or whichever name you want to call it, it's on them to report it.
Okay.
So
how does this operate, considering that the blockchain is supposed to be the most well-documented, money trail of all time?
Well, it's documented if the banks are willing or have the have the expertise
to
understand how it works, which means at all the working levels, and willing to accept that if I show you all my proof, whether you can actually understand it or not.
Right.
And I think at this point, the level of the knowledge gap is so huge that it's just easier to just shut down those accounts and get debank.
So you're saying that the banks are not accepting this money because they lack the expertise to tell whether it's money laundering or not.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So does that mean that the majority of people who have owned crypto in Malaysia before can't really spend the majority of their wealth simply because they can't put it into a bank?
Yeah, it's silly because and it's crazy because then that's just liquidity that we're not letting in.
Yep.
Right? Pay tax, and I've spoken to a lot of these guys. They are willing to pay tax, but the banks just don't want to listen, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not that the crypto bros are trying to evade tax or whatever.
No.
They want to pay the tax, but there's no system for them to pay the tax because the banks basically just go like, I don't want to look at this too much.
Yeah.
And so how is this going to change it with what MOF is doing?
Well, I think it gives it legitimacy. So
banks will have to play ball or not?
Well, I don't know the banks will have to play ball.
Okay.
They probably still won't play ball. That's my view.
Okay.
Because the gap, running a bank is very different, right? So how are you going to get it right down to even a bank manager to understand and analyze that, this is legitimate?
Yep.
Does this mean that every dollar circulating in the system today is free from money laundering?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just a very easy blanket ruling to say, look, I just don't want to deal with this. I don't have the resources to deal with this, right?
Yeah.
So just, use another bank.
That's so weird. I mean, this amount of liquidity, you think the banks will go like, yay, let's turn into
well,
loans
I
or
think
something.
also to be fair to the banks also, I think the penalties are
very
harsh.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of them are scared and say, look, I'd rather not do it. It's just easy. But unfortunately, there are pros and cons to a regulated system. And you know, can't win, right? Because if the penalties are so harsh and the effort to say that it's clean, number one, if I don't have it, I don't
Yeah.
have it lah.
Yeah.
But if it takes a lot of effort for me to say, yeah,
It's
this
not
is
worth it
clean,
anymore.
it's not worth it. So
Yeah.
it's not commercially viable, right?
Yeah. So then, how will LHDN and MOF start doing this then? If the banks themselves are already unwilling to do this,
I don't know. I think that's gonna be a long dialogue. Crypto's still very early adoption phase right now. By the time banks start appreciating, I don't think Bitcoin will be at 100,000 anymore lah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or accepting it lah, in that sense. Yeah.
Is there any timeline that our Prime Minister set for this, or so far it's still pretty vague?
I think it's put in the budget, so
Something is happening this year lah. There's a budget
something's
allocated
happening.
for it lah, basically.
Yeah, I think
So
so.
it will start developing at the start of this year lah.
I think so. I think it's clarity is the right move for legitimacy.
Right, and the irony is that by taxing crypto, you might actually bring more of its liquidity into our market. Wow,
Yes.
that's very interesting. Okay, well I think that's covered all the news for this time around.
All right, thank you everyone for watching Borak Turbo. Yeah, that we hope we made it as quick as possible for you.
And we'll
Thanks
see
for
you again
watching.
soon. Bye.
Bye.